Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Such a great game. Lots of characters, plenty of stages, and a soundtrack that seems to be endless.
There's just so much content to endorse hours of your life into. If you've never played Smash Bros. Before, play this one. Well, I guess that means I don't need this one anymore. Actually, Smash Run is the GOAT, so we'll spare it.
Now, the series has been going around for a strong 20 years since its debut, and the games usually have so much to do in them. But was Super Smash Bros. Always filled to the brim with content?
Not the self-titled one, that's for sure.
Enter Super Smash Bros. For the Nintendo 64. Well, it's Smash Bros. Alright. Developed by HAL Laboratory, who at the time was best known for making the Kirby games, they decided to make a new IP in 1998. Masahiro Sakurai, I'm sorry, I don't speak Japanese, who was the director of the game, was planning to make a new multiplayer fighting game and showed his idea to former co-worker Satoru Iwata. The game was a prototype called Dragon King the Fighting Game. At that time, the 90s fighting game craze was starting to dive down, and Sakurai thought, how could he make a successful fighting game exclusive to the Nintendo 64? And keep in mind, the PlayStation was firing in all cylinders at this point, so what did they do? Simple, add Nintendo characters, put a picture of Fox biffing Samus on the front cover and boom! Millions of copies sold. Super Smash Bros. Sold a total of approximately 5.5 million copies, making it the 5th best-selling Nintendo 64 game, and the critical reception this game got was mostly positive. But the real question to ask is, does this game still hold up after 20 years? Well, let's find out. Upon loading the game, you're welcomed with a cool intro with all the characters duking it out. While I personally think Melee and Brawl have the most memorable intros, the original still shows plenty of promise, despite being outclassed by its successors. The logo is awesome, the circle with the cross is so iconic and instantly makes you think it also represents that it's a crossover. Yeah, I didn't know that. So you go into the menu and
boy, it reeks of 1999.
Seriously, putting words in the background don't make your menu look aesthetically pleasing. Instead, it just makes you look desperate to add more detail. Anyway, the selections are 1 player, versus mode, options, and data. Options as well. Options? What, do you think I have anything else to say about? Data, which simply just has information about statistics and character bios. Versus mode, which you can gather up to 4 friends to Smash Bros together, or just playing against CPU, like me, because I'm a loner. And 1 player, which, upon selecting it, gives you a disappointing,
that's all,
effect on you. I suppose it's the first game, but really? That's it? You have 1 player game, which is this game's classic mode, training mode, bonus 1, which is break the targets, and bonus 2, that being board the platforms. Yep, tough luck if you're looking for a more diverse set of content. Seriously, you can technically experience 2 of the 4 modes in classic mode, and training mode is just a combo test, testing on how many hits you can do in a combo. So that makes already a limited menu even more limited than the limits of limit can potentially limit to. Yeah, you get the point. Now let's go over the controls. They are slow, clunky, and the worst in the series by far. It's very difficult to complement, especially when every other game in the series, to some extent, had more fast and fluid controls. In terms of moves, this is how Smash Bros. Stands out of the fighting game crowd. They don't require you to put in button inputs to put special moves, but instead attacks are pulled by pressing the A button and moving the analog stick in a specific direction. Same things apply for the special moves, which come from pressing the B button and moving the analog stick in a specific direction, that being up or down. Sorry Side B fans. You can also grab and shield just to add more techniques to allow more options, especially in competitive play. There are also plenty of items to use for those who aren't playing the game too seriously. The graphics are subpar at most. While it is an N64 game, I find some of these stages to look very fine for its time. Especially with 2D sprites being in a 3D stage, it doesn't mix very well and makes the game look kind of ugly, even for 1999. And the character models
All you freaks of 1999.
The soundtrack is primarily a nice collection of familiar songs from each of the franchises shown here. The original music offered here is actually quite neat, with my favorite track being the bonus game music. Have a listen. Those Sims. The gameplay is quite interesting. Unlike most fighting games, there's no health bar. Instead, there's a percentage meter which increases whenever somebody gets hit. The higher the percentage, the further they go until they fly off the stage. There are only 8 characters in the game with 4 unlockables. These include Mario, Donkey Kong, Link, Samus, Yoshi, Kirby, Fox, and Pikachu. This is a great roster. Nintendo chose 8 of their most iconic characters to duke it out, which is pretty awesome, especially for the late 90s. Classic mode is pretty good, but then it gets tiring after a while, when you realize it's the exact same thing over and over again, when perhaps adding some sort of randomizer could make things fresh and interesting to some extent. Anyways, classic mode is the exact same for each character, which makes it more repetitive than it should be, with highlights such as fighting Metal Mario, a giant Conky Dong, 8 Kirbys, 18 Yoshis, and 30 polygon models. During classic mode, you'll come across these bonus stages, such as Break the Targets, which is a fun minigame to test your skills with the character you're using, as each character has their own course with different target placements that other characters probably can't get. Then there's Board the Platforms, similar to what I said about Break the Targets, but this time, you board platforms. I dig this.
I'm so dead times the tape.
And I don't know why this mode wasn't in future Smash games. Then there's Race to the Finish, which is simple. You race to the finish before time runs out. I like this mode too. I don't get why future games have it. And after all that, you fight that hand from the cutscene, defeat it, get sent back to the real world, go through a shooting credits never mind, and receive my favorite thing, an anticlimactic congratulations. My favorite. Anything else this game has to offer? Nope, the video ends here.
I didn't even talk about the unlockable stuff!
Super Smash Bros. Overall feels very empty. I suppose unlocking characters would add to the replay value. There's Jigglypuff, who you get for beating Classic Mode on any difficulty. Captain Falcon, which can be unlocked by beating Classic Mode in under 20 minutes without continues. Ness, who is by far the hardest to get in the game, by beating Classic Mode on normal difficulty with 3 lives or less without getting continues. And that's it. You can unlock Green Mario too by beating Break the Targets with the 8 original characters, but guess what? He's the exact same as Mario, but with a high-pitched voice and a slightly different model. While Smash Bros are no stranger to clone characters, and it's fine for its time, because it's the first in the series, but if your roster only has 12 representatives, that pretty much makes less different characters to play as. I suppose playing Classic Mode with different characters allows you to experience the game in a different way, and I also didn't mention that some characters feel much stronger than others. It's not as unbalanced as future entries in the series, but still, when I play as Pikachu, I know I'm playing as a top tier, but when I play as Link, I can easily tell he sucks bombs. You can also unlock stages too, well, just one, that being the Mushroom Kingdom from the original Super Mario Bros. And together, you have to play every other stage at least once and beat Classic Mode with all 8 characters. Yes, it is the most unique stage, but come on, they couldn't add any more? Ness and Captain Falcon don't even have their own stages. Speaking of stages, there are only 8 stages plus 1. Each stage represents one of the original 8 games, having their own gimmick. Fair enough, I suppose.
And that's Super Smash Bros. For the Nintendo 64. You've pretty much seen everything as soon as you beat Classic Mode. But we haven't answered the question. Does this game still hold up after 20 years? No.